Good morning, students. You are welcome to English online lesson. And today, by the grace of God, we shall be looking at modal auxiliary verbs. What do I call it? Modal auxiliary verbs. Today, when you talk about modal auxiliary verbs, we are talking about some set of words that are used to help the main verbs in some ways. You know, we have modal auxiliary verbs and we also have primary auxiliary verbs. Two of them are used to help the main verb, but today we are only going to look at modal auxiliary verbs. So these modal auxiliary verbs, they are used to express specific meanings. They co-occur with main verbs, but each of them expresses the attitude of the user to an issue or something. That is, they are expressing the attitude of the speaker in some ways to an issue or something. Look at this example. From these sentences we want to look at, sentence 1 to 6, they are talking about David paying the vendor. But you will see the modal auxiliary verbs that are underlined there expressing different attitude of the speaker. Are you following? So now let's look at number 1. David may pay the vendor. 2. David will pay the vendor. 3. David can pay the vendor. 4. David should pay the vendor. 5. David ought to pay the vendor. 6. David must pay the vendor. You can see that all is talking about David paying the vendor. But the modal auxiliary verbs that are used now determine the tone, the meaning, or the attitude of the speaker. For instance, number 1, David may pay. What kind of attitude is that? That's attitude of probability. 50-50 chance of David paying the vendor. Maybe whatever happens, whether because of one reason or another, maybe he doesn't have money, or maybe the vendor has not done well, or whatever, David may pay. But when you look at number 2, say David will pay. That is, definitely David will pay, but we don't know when. 3, David can pay. That's talking about ability of David. He has the ability, capacity to pay, possibility. But number 4, David should pay. That is a kind of advice. Then because of his personality, should pay the vendor. Let the man pay the vendor and the vendor go away. Maybe the vendor has been causing nuisance, and then David should pay him, let him go. Then 5, David ought to pay. David ought to pay. Maybe he has been owing for a long time. Maybe he ought to pay this man. It's also like an advice. But when you look at number 6, David must pay. David has bought the newspaper. So he must pay him. Maybe the newspaper was not given to him in good condition, but he must pay. Let him pay him. So you can see different attitudes of the speaker based on the modal auxiliaries that are used in each of the sentences. So that is what we call modal auxiliaries. Now, one thing about modal auxiliaries is that, as you can see, these different ones we have used, we have so many modal auxiliaries. So we can now categorize them based on what they express. Number one, we can have some modal auxiliary verbs, expressing possibility. That is when you say possibility. The modal auxiliary that express for this they are here in the note there. You can see can or could, may or might. They express possibility. Look at the example. Bode can travel to Abuja tomorrow. Bode can travel to Abuja tomorrow. It's talking about possibility. It can travel. He can travel. He has the ability. Look at 2. Bode could travel to Abuja. Here, one thing you need to know is that whether we say can or could. Can be used for present. could can also be used. But one thing is that you can see we have may or might. Any of them can, ordinarily could and might, they are used for past, but they can also be still used for present. Are you following? Now look at but number one, sentence one. Bode can travel to Abuja. 2. Bode could travel to Abuja. Now look at 3. Bode could have traveled to Abuja. That's one now is talking about past. Could have. That's talking about past. Could have traveled. That is, it's possible that he has traveled to Abuja. Maybe when they did not see him. Number 4. Bode could travel to Abuja next week. That's present. Can you see what I'm saying now? It's not, even though we said it is a could, we normally use it for past, but you can see Bode could travel to Abuja next week. You could. So one thing is that all you need to know is how they are used and the sentences which they are used. Then number 5. She may reveal the names of the winners tomorrow. She may. We're talking about possibility, remember. May. All these are possibilities. She may reveal it and she may not. Number 6. She might have revealed the names. You can take note of when it is past. We see that it has a kind of what we call a present perfect or past perfect. She could have, she might have revealed. That's past. Might have there, make it to be past. Yes, perfect. She might have revealed it. But when you look at number 7, she might reveal the names tomorrow, next tomorrow. Might and may can be used either as present or future. So take note. Now, another thing is that we can also have modal auxiliary expressing permission. Permission. When you talk about permission, you know what that means. You want to you are taking permission to do something, to be allowed to do something. So for these categories of auxiliaries that we use, we have can or could, may or might. Again, you can see again this set of same modal auxiliary verbs are also used in the previous ones, but you see the way they are used will be different. You know, that one is not talking about, you are not saying you are not taking any permission. For the examples we have, but they can travel, that one is not a permission. But when you look at these ones, you look at the examples, you are talking about taking permission. One thing is that may, out of the can and could, may and might, it is better to use may than can when you want to express permission. Excuse me. So it is better to use may or can when you are taking permission. Especially, I usually, if you can remember in the class, I usually correct you. Don't say, can I go to the toilet? Don't say, can I go and... No, you have the ability. Can is expressing ability, but when you take permission, you say, may. May I use the restroom? May I do this, sir? So it's permission, it's official. But when you say, can I? No, can I can be used in between as for it's informal, but polite, we also have what we call polite request. Are you following? So don't just say, can I? So may is better. Now, we can also, although might can be used in the past tense. Are you following? Might can be used in the past tense. It can also be used for the future tense. Just the way we have seen it in the previous section. Can be used as a future. Look at the examples below. Can I shut the door? Can here is talking about your ability as well as also permission. You can also say, may I shut the door? Can I shut the door? Now, look at example 2. You may sit there. You may sit there. 3. You might go next week. You might go next week. So all these few examples are what we use to express permission. Though we can still generate more examples, but those are the ones we have for now. Then we also have modal auxiliaries expressing certainty. certainty and likelihood. When you say certainty, something that is sure, and likelihood, something that may eventually happen, that may occur. So the modal auxiliaries that express certainty and likelihood are, that we use to express certainty and likelihood, are should and must. Should and must. Look at the examples. That should be Kingsley at the door. That should be Kingsley. Kingsley is the name of a person at the door. This one is not certainty, it's a kind of a likelihood. It may be him, it may not be him. That's why we call it likelihood. It's like 50-50 too. Then the second example. That must be Kingsley at the door. When you say that must, that's certainty. You are sure. Maybe you have been expecting him. Then you see that must be Kingsley at the door. There are instances you're expecting somebody and you feel okay, he's the one. And of course, it may not be the one. And in that situation, you say that should be. Are you following? So these are some of the ways we can use modal auxiliary verbs to denote or to express some facts. We have not finished the list anyway, but because of this short lesson, we are going to stop here, and then we continue in the next lesson from where we are stopping now. But in the meantime, I will give you this assignment. Just 10 questions on what I've just explained to you, what I've just taught. We have just two sets of questions. The first one, you use can, could, may, or might to fill the gaps. Just five sentences. Then the second one, you use should, may, or might to fill the remaining 5 sentences too. They are all 10 questions altogether. So 1 to 5, you use can, could, may, or might. 6 to 10, you use should, may, or might. So these are the things you are to do. Make sure you read at home all that you have been taught. Pay attention. The exam is fast approaching. Make sure you don't play away your time too. Take time to read. Take time to also rest.